Hello everyone, welcome to Astrology Basics number 8 in my series, Let's Learn Astrology, and this time we're going to learn about the aspects in the birth chart. No minor thing, the aspects unlock the key to your destiny. You need to understand them systematically. So if you're new to my channel, of course, don't forget to sub below, and if the video is good and helpful for you, give it a thumbs up. Thank you. Let's go. It's lesson 8 then. The aspects between the planets in the chart is, as I say, no minor thing. This will unlock the key to your destiny. Specifically, we're going to learn 2 techniques for this that you have to understand or you simply cannot do Vedic astrology at all. And by the way, if you've not caught up with lessons 1 to 7, please do so. The link is below this video in the description box. If you don't catch up with those lessons, potentially a lot of what I'm speaking about may not make sense. So please do that. First of all, though, I'm going to answer some questions from the last lesson. These are specifically about retrograde planets. And I'm also going to talk about the Ephemeris and why it's important to be able to use this tool to become a good astrologer. If you don't know what that is, you should definitely hang around. Of course, you can just skip all of this section and go on to the lesson if you want to. The timestamps are below. First question, do Rahu and Ketu, north and south node of the moon, north node Rahu, Ketu south node, have a similar effect to other retrograde planets? Last lesson we learned specific important factors that retrograde planets all have in common. And the answer is most definitely not. Do not apply to Rahu Ketu what I spoke about last lesson. If you check the presentation I gave, I showed you very clearly that Rahu Ketu, Sun and the Moon are not included in those retrograde planet effect I was speaking about. Because you see, Rahu Ketu, the nodes are permanently going retrograde. So that's not an issue at all for them. They are going in a different direction permanently to the other planets. Whereas Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, as we saw last lesson, have some time going retrograde, but they are mostly going direct. So no, do not treat Rahu Ketu in the same way as other retrograde planets. Next question, good question. Can retrograde planets who are Digbala, having strength by house, we did this last lesson, lose Digbala effect because they are retrograde? Absolutely not. Nothing is cancelled. Digbala is never cancelled. Different combinations happen, different things happen, but Digbala is not cancelled, no. And that goes even if they are in own sign or exalted. Retrograde planets, own sign, exalted, become a little bit weakened because they are focusing on the opposite sign. We talked all about this. If you are confused, you should definitely check out lesson 7. Then you will know what I'm talking about. Let's have a really good example. Quick look at the chart of Jonny Depp then. Why not? Because he has Saturn in Digbala. Look, 7th house Saturn, everyone. Retrograde, see there? And a critical degree. Oh my goodness, what the relationship situation's going to go through. Check Jonny Depp's relationship history. In fact, I did quite a lot about Jonny Depp's relationship history on my D9 video, but that's a bit advanced. Here we're doing basics. So learning astrology, everybody, check carefully. Look at this shani right here. It is in a Digbala, 7th house in Capricorn, own sign. But it's retrograde. So because it's retrograde, it's going to act like it is in Cancer. It's going to act as though it's in a weakened position. So he's feeling weakened in relationships, critical all the time, like he can't stabilize himself. 29 degrees. But talk about strength. He keeps on going. He doesn't give up, this guy. Strong Saturn, Digbala, and definitely in its own sign, tremendous persistence. You can't say anything less than that. talking about Jonny Depp's relationship history. Another good question, Rahu Ketu, are they included in the high-low degree evaluation, which I called last video critical degrees? I said planets in the first 2 degrees, last 2 degrees of any sign are in a critical situation. Yes, you should definitely include them. It's very important to note that. A very good question, bringing me on to something really important. So if you're here with me, stick with this. I've got something important to talk about. So, can we tell from software if a retrograde planet has just turned retrograde, etc.? When did it turn retrograde? When will it go direct? Can you tell from the software? I'm sure you can, but don't ask me about that. I mean, quite frankly, I wouldn't even bother. If I wanted to find out that, I wouldn't waste my time going through all of the sections of the software, going into this page and that page. What? Why would you want to do that? I would simply bring up an ephemeris. This is something that is very essential for every astrologer to be able to do. So it's good that I can talk about this. If you're sitting there saying, what on earth is an ephemeris, then you definitely, my friend, you definitely need to know about this, okay? Because an ephemeris is the tables of the planetary positions from an astrological angle that you definitely need to get used to using. Any astrologer who doesn't use an ephemeris, well, quite frankly, I'm speechless. I'm going to show you astro.com, everybody. If you've not seen this site, try it out. I love it. Yes, it's primarily got a lot of tropical Western astrology. Ignore that. You just need the sidereal ephemeris files. I love these files. They go right back to 5000 BC. What more could you need if you like historical charts? I do. But focus on your chart. That's the thing to begin with. Little tip, it's hard to find these files on the actual site. I wouldn't want to go in there straight away. You will never find them. I've never been able to. I simply put in this into my browser or just sidereal ephemeris files. Then you will find them very, very quickly. Let's learn to read it. Let's use Marilyn Monroe, of course, since we're doing her chart. The 1st of June 1926. Bring up June 1926 in the files. First day, Tuesday. Read right across here. There is all the positions of the planets and Rahu is here. I have shown you all of these symbols, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, on my earlier videos with these sign symbols as well. Check them out. I've shown you what they are. So it's very clear. Sun is in 16 Taurus, Moon 15 Capricorn. This is midnight, of course. So you would need to see that in the actual chart. But still, this is good. Looking ahead, looking back, which was your question. And this is good astrology. You can't just see birth chart if you don't know what was happening before with the planets and what's going to happen next. It's so important. One thing, of course, sure you can see, because this astro.com is coming from a basically Western point of view, Western astrology. It's brought in a whole pile of stuff. We don't need to do good astrology. We don't need Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. We don't need that either. We just need mean node. We don't need this guy, whoever he is, this guy. So stuff which you don't need, just ignore it. Read the main planetary positions, and it's really helpful. You see, right away, looking at these main planets, everybody, there is something which is standing out. I don't know whether you can see this on your screen, but there's something standing out. I'll give you a clue. It's about Jupiter, Guru. Can you see what it is in this ephemeris? Shout it out if you can. Two things I hope you got. First of all, Guru is at 4 degrees the whole of the month. He's not moving in the sky. Jupiter is super strong because he's just about to go retrograde. Second thing to see. Same degree goes retrograde on the 16th of June, 2 weeks after she was born. So she was born with a virtually stationary position of Guru. Stationary planets, I haven't got there just yet, but they are super duper strong. They're going to really grab you and make something destined happen. When we get to do predictions, you will see most of her life, her fame and her death was in Guru, Jupiter, Mahadasha. That's just one thing, but let's answer your specific question, because what you said was, can we see when the retrograde happened, when it will stop? So here we have Saturn, of course, definitely retrograde in her chart. We've seen it many times, 28 degrees 40 of Libra sign. But when did he turn retrograde? To find out that, we have to go back to March 1926 and find Saturn, and we see that he was in Scorpio then, right at the beginning degrees, and he turned retrograde. You see, it's very clear to see on this. It's so clear. At 3 degrees 15 of sidereal Scorpio on Saturday, the 6th of March. And typically, Saturn's retrograde period is about 4 to 5 months. So when did he turn direct again? Let's have a quick go with that using July 1926, everybody. Just after she was born, Saturn went direct. Can you see from here when he did and what degree he turned direct again? You are correct if you said that Saturn went direct again at 26 degrees of Libra sign here, and it was on the 24th of July. Once again on a Saturday, turned retrograde, went direct. Interesting, Saturn's own day. So you see, reading an ephemeris is an essential skill. I would definitely advise all of you, beginning astrology, been doing it for ages, you should definitely pick up this skill. In this lesson, everybody, we're going to learn what are aspects in a horoscope, how to see them in the chart, the difference between sight versus sign or RASI aspects, so important in the Vedic system, and the most important aspects to see when you look at a chart. So what are aspects in astrology? Aspects are the relationship between the planets, how they are influencing each other in a chart. So when we talk about planets being in a conjunction to each other, same sign, etc., or being in opposition to each other, these are definitely aspects. And if you've come from the Western system, you'll be familiar with those two concepts minimum. But that's where it ends. Conjunctions, opposition, that's it. Everything else is completely different. You see, in Western astrology, aspects are purely mathematical, degrees between planets. They are not individualized, they are not specific, they do not take into account the signs. But in Vedic astrology, we know karmas come from not just the actual grahas, but the signs themselves. So the aspects are far more deeper, far more intricate actually in this Vedic astrology system. So one tip, if you are coming from a Western astrology experience, because I was there many decades, I studied it, you are going to have to ditch a lot of preconceptions. You're going to have to start from scratch really to understand aspects in a completely different way. Please note though, before I start going through Vedic astrology aspects, I'm doing the bare bones of it here, Astrology Basics. There's a video on my channel called Secrets of the Aspects, where I've done far more in-depth understanding, giving you far more aspects to look for every planet, showing you deeper concepts as well. Check it out. The link is below. So let's begin. And the question is, what are the most important aspects you should look for when you first see a horoscope? And they are the conjunctions in the horoscope. Conjunction mean in the Vedic system, be very clear, planets in the same sign, therefore same house. Remember everybody, the sign, the RASI carries the karmas. This is why planets in the same sign are sharing similar karmas. They are combining together to bring events, circumstances, situations that we have to face. So when we see planets in the same sign, this is really important. Once again, coming from the Western system, don't think about degrees. Yes, we do look at closeness by degree, particularly when we see the sun. I will discuss next video. But generally speaking, if the planets, grahas, are in the same RASI sign, they are influencing each other. That's the deep learning. In fact, really, Vedic astrology doesn't talk about conjunctions. It talks about sambandha, relationship between the planets. There is Marilyn Monroe's horoscope then. Take a few seconds and just check out where are the conjunctions happening in this chart, who is involved, which houses, which signs. Hopefully you said Jupiter and Mars are together in Aquarius sign in the 8th house, correct? And Mercury and the Sun are together in Taurus in the 11th house of her chart. One house is a Dusthana house. We've spoken about these type of houses earlier videos. Going to bring her challenges right away. Planets in the 6th, 8, 12 conjunctions. We know there's going to be challenges, and she's got all of these Dusthana occupied. Can you see? Ketu, 6th house, Rahu, 12th house, Jupiter, Mangala conjunction in the 8th house, bringing her changes, trauma, difficulty certainly. And Sun, Mercury certainly in Taurus, 11th house, profit was there, gain was there, money was there from her own efforts, certainly, because this is the house of income. Of course, the question is, you may be saying, well, what's the meaning of Jupiter conjunct Mars, Sun conjunct Mercury? Any conjunctions you've got, everybody, in any house, in your chart, any horoscope you're looking at, check the videos on my channel. There's a whole playlist, Conjunctions in Astrology. I will put that playlist below for you, and again at the end. By the way, that playlist is good for any aspects between any planets at all. Graha Dristi, Rasi Dristi. You can use my conjunctions video to understand combinations of any planets. Check them out. However, watch out for one thing, everybody. When there are 4, and 4 is a seminal number, or more planets in the same sign, it is challenging. Don't forget, sign is a house. So 4 planets in the same RASI sign in any horoscope, it gets challenging. And that includes Rahu, Ketu as well. Why is it challenging? Well, too many people in the space, like too many people in the house. Everybody's getting agitated, getting on each other's nerves. You get the idea. And this is even if they are friendly to each other. Now, we haven't done planetary friendship yet, but we will be doing it future videos. It doesn't really matter how friendly they are, how happy they are in the sign. 4 or more grahas, same sign, that house, that area of the chart will become challenging. Check it out. Now, the other planetary aspects. First of all, we're going to look at Graha Dristi. This means sight of the individual planets, Dristi, but it also means their desire. What they see, what they desire, it's totally individualized. And it's about the sight, you see. Every planet is sitting in a sign, and it has a sight, has a glance, so many signs ahead. And it will influence that sign, that house, by its personal sight, by its personal dristi. You see, Western astrology lacks this completely. I know because I've studied it for decades. So, for example, Western astrology would see a square aspect, 90-degree angle between any planet whatsoever. Any planet could potentially have a square aspect to another planet, and it would even be mutual between them. But in reality, not all grahas have that 4 signs away 90-degree angle. One has it really strong, as we're going to see. Some others have it somewhat, but not so strong. Some others are just not interested 4 signs away whatsoever. This knowledge has got to be understood. You see, in truth, everybody, most planets have varying aspects, not just the ones I'm going to show you here. These are the most important ones, definitely, astrology basics, but there are many, many more that you need to see. And they are in varying degrees of intensity. So to go into that depth, which you should definitely do after you have mastered this video, check the video on my channel, Secrets of the Aspects. I will put that link below for you and again at the end. Now, final very important point, everybody, the scope of influence of the Graha Dristi. Are these site aspects influencing you every minute of your existence? No, actually they're not. Subtly they may be there, like they are there in your life, but they're not major factors until the Mahadasha comes. Because this is a site, you see, so the planet has to be awake in your life. When does a planet awaken in your life? During what we call Mahadasha, Bhukti periods, etc. Time periods, which I'll be doing in future videos on this series. So when anybody enters Mahadasha of any planet, they become awake in your life. And they'll be looking ahead to those houses and those events manifest. So, scope of influence, yes, it's subtly there, but it doesn't manifest big time until Mahadasha. Let's go through all the individual planets now, starting with Saturn. I'll spend a little more time on Saturn because I'm going to talk about how these actually work here. And this will apply to all the planets as well. So Saturn's Dristi site aspects are here. 3rd house from himself, 7th and 10th. 3rd, 10th though are the strongest aspects. So find Saturn in a chart. It doesn't matter what house he is in the chart. Count 3 signs away. His sign is first count. 1, 2, 3. Saturn puts his full aspect site onto this house in the horoscope. And what is Saturn's site? What is Saturn's aspect? Saturn's aspect is going to be restriction, difficulty, sorrow, loss, all of those papa karmas, difficult karmas coming back. These houses in the horoscope, that he aspects, will have some difficulty, loss, restriction in them for certain. That can be seen. And Saturn's 7th aspect, opposition aspect from where he is 75% influence. So it's still pretty strong, but not as strong as 3rd, 10th. And the 10th aspect, 100% impact of Saturn's Dristi. So the first part of the Graha Dristi of any planet, including Saturn, is the aspect to the house itself that he is aspecting. 3rd, 7th, 10th. In the case of Saturn, he is influencing the whole area of life. But secondly, if there are any planets in these houses, Saturn is aspecting them as well. That's the thing to understand. If the Sun is in the 3rd house from Saturn, Saturn has his Dristi site on the Sun. No matter what degree is Saturn, no matter what degree is the Sun, because he is aspecting the sign and the Sun is in that sign. It's about the karmas. I hope you see this. Now, no better way to understand this, everybody, than to use a horoscope. We're using Marilyn Monroe, of course. Saturn is in the 4th house. We've done so much about Saturn so far. But what about Saturn's aspect? Saturn's site aspect, Graha Dristi. Just to remind you, it is 3rd house away, 7th house away, and 10th house or sign away. Same thing. Which signs and houses is Saturn aspecting from here? And are there any planets he is influencing? Stop the video should you need to. You are correct. If you got Saturn's 3rd aspect, full 100% Dristi onto the 6th house of the chart and to Ketu in Sagittarius. It's a difficult combination, Shani Ketu. And actually, Ketu does not aspect back. It's not mutual in any way. But this affected a lot of her foster care experience because this is a house of foster mother. In fact, this Saturn Ketu influence, because Saturn is in this house of mother during the relevant Ketu period, she went into foster care, definitely. This is a very difficult factor here because Ketu is showing leaving something behind. Ketu gives something to do with past life coming in here, taking away mother nurturance from her. Next aspect, of course, Saturn's got a 75% aspect onto the 10th house, influencing her career. This is heavy, but in a way, Saturn gives persistence, hard work, of course. She works hard. She is ambitious. But Venus, of course, is the Lord of happiness, gone 7th away, we have discussed. This Venus-Saturn is mutual because we shall see Venus also aspects back. So we shall definitely talk more about that when we get there. It's not an easy aspect at all. But potentially, everyone, the most difficult aspect, I hope you got this, is Saturn's 10th aspect right away to the ascendant. Saturn is aspecting the ascending sign, and this is crucial. Saturn in this house of mother has a lot to do with all of those factors about her mother having schizophrenia, retrograde, critical degree, many other things to see. But this aspect to her 1st house, her lagna, her brain, shows that there was probably some genetic factor happening. But here's the thing. It would manifest in Saturn Mahadasha because this is Saturn's site aspect. But she died before her Saturn Mahadasha, which would have been in her 40s. There was concern. People said that she had definitely a deep depression. Saturn gives that as well. But there was evidence that she did have some schizoid tendency. So definitely when Saturn came alive in her life, there was a potential for this schizophrenia or some aspects of it to have come into her experience. We can see that by this 10th aspect. Next, Jupiter's Dristi aspects, personal aspects, are on the 5th house to himself and the 9th house to himself, trines to himself, you see, and the opposite sign. But please note, the 7th house away is a much weaker aspect. Jupiter doesn't pay so much attention there. He's going to have an influence, but not as big as 5th house, 9th house. Now, what will Jupiter bring by his aspect, by his Dristi, particularly Mahadasha? Yes, he will expand the house. Things take off, things happen. Opportunities come in all these directions during Jupiter's Mahadasha. Particularly, check them out carefully. If there are benefic planets placed 5 away, 9 away, 7 away, this is really helpful. Jupiter will bring them out, help them. Good stuff can come. Then there are malefics placed in these houses from Jupiter, though. He can expand that malefic influence a little bit, even though it's not obvious to begin with. So a little bit of caution should be there. Generally, though, Jupiter gives a beneficent factor. You have to see houses he rules in the chart. It's never straightforward, but certainly as a beginner, understand Jupiter's aspects will expand the house. Things open up. Opportunities will certainly come. Now, Jupiter is very important for Marilyn Monroe. If you didn't check the beginning of the video where I looked at the Ephemeris, find the secret of what Jupiter is doing when she was born at this 4 degrees, you should do so. He is super strong in the sky at the moment she was born. So we know the Mahadasha is going to be super karmic, super important. So Jupiter's site aspects are going to be crucial. Stop the video. Let me know what they are. Very interesting to see, isn't it? Jupiter has his 5th aspect onto the 12th house, but onto Rahu, the malefic planet, and Jupiter's 9th aspect onto Saturn, the other malefic planet. This is interesting, and he's with Mars. Jupiter in his time period is aspecting 3 malefic planets. And you see Jupiter aspecting 12th house, though it's expanding 12th house factors, sexuality, bed pleasures, Rahu principles, people who are Rahu-like figures come into her life, politicians, etc. Lots of things to see. Rahu is poisons, drugs, so this expands in her life. Rahu's in this house of sleep. Her sleep becomes disturbed in this Jupiter Mahadasha. We have to see Jupiter is in a very difficult house, so he's going to bring some difficult factors with this expansion as well. Jupiter aspects 4th house Saturn. This is going to bring her some factors of relationship issue because Saturn is the 7th house lord. So she had marriages here, but she had difficulties as well by other factors. She had her own property as well towards the end of her life in this Guru Mahadasha. 4th house indicates property. One good thing, of course, Jupiter's going to aspect the 2nd house. Money is going to come into her life, increase in her wealth, but it's 50% aspect. It's good, but don't forget expenses because Rahu's influencing here, 12th house. Now, Mars's aspects are very heavy in the chart. He'll put a lot of pressure where he aspects. He aspects the 4th house away from himself in the chart and the 8th house, 4th and 8th, with his full 100% Dristi. And Mars by Dristi desire is about courage, fortitude. He wants to control. He will try to control the 4th house and the 8th house away from himself. And he will do it by any means depending on his sign, where he is. So definitely Mars is not going to mess around. He can put a lot of pressure, aggression, even violence occasionally into these houses. But Mars' 7th aspect is not as strong. Look, it's only 25%. He's not interested in the opposition to himself. I've given full rationale for all of these aspects, by the way, on my Secrets of the Aspects video. Back to Marilyn Monroe. Now, these aspects become very important because she died in a Jupiter-Mars time period. Therefore, Mars aspects had a major factor in her death. We'll just go slightly into them now because that's for future videos. So what houses, what signs is Mangala aspecting by his site aspect, everybody? Shout them out. Well, correct. If you saw that Mars has his 4th aspect straight away onto the 11th house, influencing the Sun and Mercury by his Dristi. He also aspects to the 8th house away, the 3rd house of her communication. She's going to be saying stuff in that time period that could be dangerous for her. And a very, very weak aspect indeed, just 25% to the 2nd house of her chart. So when Mars wakes up in her life, you see it's going to bring powerful people, Sun, superiors, politicians, etc., powerful people. Government factors become big, money, business becomes big, and communication becomes important as well. Now we're coming to the faster moving planets, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Sun, and they have just one Graha Dristi, a powerful 100% aspect on the 7th house from themselves. So Venus is looking full on anytime he's awake in your life on that 7th house. Any planets there, huge impact on them generally. 7th house from Venus, by the way, is very important for our relationships, love relationships, marriage, etc. Generally, most people. Marilyn Monroe's chart, we can just put it in straight away, can't we? It's just 7 houses away. So here we have Venus, full on Dristi, onto Saturn in the 4th house of her chart. See, Venus is weakly placed, badly placed 10th house. It has got weakest Digbala, discussed video back, check it out. And definitely Venus is not happy in this Aries sign. So love relationships are suffering for her, but Venus is putting desire. What does he want? What does Venus desire when he wakens up in her life? She wants domesticity. She wants a home life. She wants security. But Saturn is making that difficult, unfortunately for her. Next, Mercury, Buddha, business planet, money in your life. He has a big aspect on the 7th house to himself, 100% Dristi onto any planet there and that house in your chart. So when he awakens in your life, the 7th away becomes big time activated. For Marilyn Monroe, here is Mercury, 11th house, full-on aspect to the house of children, to the house of acting itself. Now, don't forget, Buddha Mercury is speech, communication, skill. She got training as an actress. This was helpful. Once again, she didn't go into Mercury Mahadasha, but she would have had influence there. Mercury's desire is for skill in creativity. That we can see by the horoscope. Now, the Moon Chandra also, full Dristi, is on the 7th house, 7th away from Moon. There is so much desire here, and Moon is society. Moon's 7th house can give a certain amount of popularity. Moon's 7th house is where we relax a little bit, hopefully, where people are drawn to us. That can be seen. And here it is, a big aspect for Marilyn Monroe, you see, of this moon. It's going straight to her ascendant. This moon is aspecting ascendant, and it's giving her popularity. She, as a person, becomes popular with public. Of course, moon periods drive this forward. Okay, but the thing about the moon here is that moon is her ascendant lord. So this is why it's such an important factor. But moon is changeable. Moon as well to this 7th house makes things change. Sometimes she's full of confidence. Sometimes she's lacking it. Sometimes she likes herself. Sometimes she does not. Sometimes she has good health. Sometimes not. And the moon is the mind. This is really important. Why? Because we just looked, didn't we? We just saw that Saturn's aspect was definitely full on to this 1st house. So Saturn and the moon are aspecting her ascendant. Her mind is unsteady, giving her some mental health issues, depression, anxiety, maybe potentially also, I think, potential for schizophrenic factors. Why can I say that? Because moon is mother, and the mother had schizophrenia. And it is genetic, by the way. That's the thing. And the Sun, Surya's full-on aspect to the 7th house. Sun's aspect 7th away is very beneficent, by the way. The Sun is a burning planet. Remember this, everybody. Where he sits, he can burn everything up. But where he puts his full rays, opposite sign, he can bring abundance. He can bring resources to you. It's a good aspect. Daily show, Marilyn Monroe's Sun is aspecting the 5th house of acting skill, dramatic skill, creative skill. She got resources from the 5th house. We don't have to say any more than that. And last but not least, with the Graha Dristi is Rahu. Rahu has 100% Dristi on the 2nd house to himself. Again, if you want to know rationale for this, why this is happening, you should check out Secrets of the Aspects, and a full-on Dristi opposite to himself where Ketu is. Also has fairly strong but not totally so strong aspect to the 5th house and the 9th house for himself, where he has 75% potency on those signs, those houses. Check it out carefully. Rahu has more Dristi than anybody else. You see, he wants to grip your life. We know what Rahu's about, and if you're not sure, check the previous video where I discussed meaning of all the planets on this playlist. Marilyn Monroe was in Rahu Dasha in her earlier years. My goodness, talk about having effect. Where is Rahu influencing everybody? Shout it out. Don't forget, if you've forgotten, it's a 2nd house, big aspect. 7th house, big aspect. 5th, 9th, fairly strong as well. Hope you got Rahu's influencing her. He is major, 100% on her head, causing illusion, causing her to think what is not. Again, this is not helpful for her mental state. Rahu is aspecting as well by his 100% aspect to Ketu, of course, to the 6th house of enemies. Rahu aspects 5th aspect, of course, we know, to Saturn here, and again to Mangala, Jupiter, the Mahadasha where she died. And of course, this is all about Rahu Mahadasha. Look how accurate is Vedic astrology. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Rahu is in the 12th house. What is that? Institutions, orphanages, children's homes. That was where she was. Rahu was her. As we shall see, you are that planet Mahadasha. That's to come future videos, but just look. Rahu aspect Saturn. This is about mother. This is about home. Is about sorrow, lack of maternal care. Rahu aspects a house of foster mother. Ketu is there, not sustaining her. Rahu aspects a house of trauma, violence, difficulty. It's all shown perfectly. Picture of her life in that time period. Finally, Ketu, this is really easy. Ketu has no side aspect at all. Why? He's headless. Truly, he is headless. How can he have a Dristi, a sight aspect? Now, I used to go along with the idea that maybe there's some internalized, intuitive thing, 5, 9, etc. But when it comes to seeing events happening, Mahadasha, I'm not seeing that so much. So I wouldn't go along with that. Ketu has RASI aspect, as we're going to see in a minute, but not sight aspect, not Graha Dristi. Next thing, never forget this, everybody. You must learn this as well. The sign or RASI aspects of the planets. The signs in the horoscope, RASIs, aspect each other in a certain combination, which is easy to learn once you got the hang of it. And the planets in those signs aspect each other as well. So everyone, it's not enough to just know those aspects of the individual planets, important though they are. If you miss out this, you are missing out some really important karmas. In fact, these are permanent. These will affect you all of your life. You must study these to do good astrology. Once again, it makes us understand, of course, why the sign itself the signs in the chart. RASIs are so important. Aspects between planets are not just mathematical angles, as in Western astrology. That's not what's happening. They are aspects that are bringing forth events, circumstances, past karmas, and they are coming from the signs. This is the deeper understanding. Of course, I shouldn't have to say it, but just in case, please remember we are only using sidereal zodiac here. This is why this is working. If you were to use tropical zodiac, consistently moving every so often, shifting, just reflecting the actual real zodiac, sidereal zodiac, you won't see karmas manifesting in your life at all. It will all go pretty chaotic. So sidereal zodiac, of course, check the first videos in this series. So everybody, how do the signs aspect each other? Two things are happening. Number one, the cardinal signs, chara signs, rasis, are aspecting the fixed or stira signs, except the sign next to it. Sounds complicated. It isn't. I'm going to show you how. And the second thing happening is that the dual signs or the mutable signs aspect each other. Two things, and then you've got Rasi aspects sorted. Of course, if you don't know who are the cardinal chara Rasi or the fixed or the dual signs, go back to my third video, everybody, about the signs. Everything is explained clearly there. And here they are for you anyway to help. The cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn. The fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio and Aquarius. And the dual signs or mutable signs, sometimes called, are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces. So let's start working with it by the rules, starting with the cardinal fixed signs who are mutually aspecting each other in any horoscope. Let's start with Aries sign, everybody, of course. Stop the video should you need to. Aries is a cardinal sign, of course, and it is aspecting the fixed signs, but not the one next door. What are the Rasi aspects of Aries? I hope you got that Aries will not aspect Taurus, but will have a full aspect onto Leo. Mutual aspect there, onto Scorpio, and onto Aquarius. Well done if you got those. Do just one more sign. Let's do Aquarius, a fixed sign this time. So which signs in the horoscope will Aquarius aspect? And which sign will he not aspect, of course, according to the Rasi aspects of the planets. Stop the video should you need to. You got this? If you didn't, keep on practicing. It gets really easy in the end. Aquarius will not aspect the sign next door, cardinal sign Capricorn, but will aspect all the other cardinal signs shown here. So full-on aspect to Aries, full-on aspect to Cancer, and a full-on aspect to Libra sign. I hope you got these. Let's go on to the other signs. And easiest of all, the dual signs are going to influence each other right across the board. No exceptions whatsoever. So Gemini aspects Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, back to Gemini, right across the board. Planets here will influence each other definitely. Let's start with the horoscope. Now, it can seem really complicated looking at a horoscope, Rasi aspects, but I promise you, everybody, I do promise you this, keep on practicing, grab loads of horoscopes, bring them up on your screen and start looking for the Rasi aspects. You become so good so quickly. One tip, start with the ascendant, start with the rising sign, which is in a cardinal sign, and see what signs are aspecting what planet. Stop the video should you need to. Don't forget it's the fixed signs aspecting the cardinal signs, except the one next door. What is influencing by permanent Rasi aspect Marilyn Monroe's ascendant? You are correct if you saw that Jupiter and Mars from Aquarius sign are aspecting full on here to the ascendant, because the fixed sign aspects and the other fixed sign where we have the Sun and Mercury are permanently aspecting her ascendant. Nothing is happening Leo, because that is sign next door. So this is a really important factor. Of course, don't forget, yes, Scorpio is influencing the ascendant, but there are no planets there. So it's not as strong as the house of Aquarius, where we have Guru Mangala, and Taurus, where we have Sun Mercury. She is influenced by her friends permanently throughout life. She is influenced by change, trauma from this 8th house permanently throughout her life. And she is also certainly influenced by powerful people, the Sun. This is the thing, government figures, powerful people have an influence on her. They can help her, promote her, but they could be dangerous as well, as we shall see later on in the series. Let's try another planet. This is very important, Venus. Venus alone in this 10th house. Where is the influence on Venus? Venus is not alone when we think of the RASI aspect permanently influencing. Who is permanently putting RASI Dristi onto Sukra in this 10th house of career? Once again, stop the video should you need to. Hope you got this, everybody. Venus in the 10th house, of course, is not going to influence anyway on to Taurus, because that is sign next door, fixed sign. But the fixed sign of Aquarius is majorly influencing Jupiter and Mangala again. And of course, the other fixed sign, Venus is aspecting to money house here and to the house of romance, love affairs, and children. So she had many pregnancies, by the way, but of course Mangala's influence here is going to be difficult. Mangala is violence. That's the thing. She had many abortions as well. She had miscarriages. She had difficulty with children, conceiving them. Pregnancies, definitely. But the most difficult aspect, I think, here, oh, by the way, let me just say, Jupiter, of course, aspecting Venus is lovely. And this is why she got fame as a sex symbol, Venus. This is why she got prominence, fame, success. Because Guru aspects Venus, she is able to sustain this popularity in her career. 10th house. The most difficult thing is this Mangala and Venus factor, this mutual influence. This is really difficult, everybody. This is very disturbing. Mars, Venus having any connection in anybody's horoscope is disturbing, because Venus is water, Mangala is fire. So don't listen to all that Western astrology, Venus, Mars getting together. It's lovely. Yeah, you are going to have lots of sexual factors, sexual attractions, but it is not going to give peace of mind, I'm afraid. It is going to disturb intimate, personal relationships. And she certainly had that. How's it going, everybody? I hope you're getting these. If you're not, just keep on trying again and again. You will. Go back and make a few notes about how I said you see these aspects. Let's do the moon next and Saturn next. So check out the moon is in Capricorn. Check out RASI aspect to the moon. Saturn is in Libra, both in cardinal signs. Check the RASI aspects to each one individually. This tells us a lot about Marilyn Monroe's destiny. Ready to go, everyone? Well, the moon is in Capricorn. Let's use a different color pen here. It's not going to influence onto the fixed sign next door, but the major factor is the moon is aspecting the 11th house to this Sun Mercury conjunction, having a major factor on her relationships. And the moon is aspecting the other fixed sign, Leo, and the moon is aspecting the other fixed sign, Scorpio. Well done if you got those. The thing to see here is that Moon is her in this relationship house, but she is really depending on her friendship network circle. It becomes important, crucial. We're just going to focus with our planets. So Moon Sun aspect, Moon Mercury aspect. She didn't like to be alone. One of the things about Marilyn Monroe, when she was asked, who is your closest friend? Do you know what she said? She said, it's the telephone. What's going on? Can you see? I hope you see Mercury. Mercury is communication, telephone. She is compulsively communicating. She needs to be in touch with other people. She would be up all night on the telephone. How can we see? Because Mercury is the 12th house lord of sleep. She's not sleeping. She's on the phone. All times of the early morning, phoning people, a big factor in her life. And of course, the Moon is her personal marriages, relationship, intimate factors aspecting Sun, married powerful people. Joe DiMaggio, baseball player, playwright, Arthur Miller, intellectual factors there. Mercury. Saturn finally for these cardinal fixed aspects. Saturn will not aspect next door, but look, he's aspecting to Mars, Jupiter, and he's aspecting also to Mercury, Sun, as well as to second house, money and family. It's not looking too messy, but look, the Saturn aspecting Sun, Mercury shows that this early childhood trauma is making her compulsive and not choose wisely in her network circles, associations. Saturn Mars is a very difficult, violent aspect. She was in Mars Bhukti when she died. There's some violence happening. We will come back to it. And Saturn Sun is giving her difficulty with government, powerful people in government. Sun Saturn, mutual aspect to each other is quite dangerous. Let's finish off everybody with the dual signs. These are always easier because they just aspect each other. Pisces, Gemini, Virgo and Sagittarius. Dual signs are crucial because you see Rahu, Ketu are influencing across the chart here. Let's just have a look at this, get some pens out. So Rahu, Ketu are influencing each other. Ketu doesn't have a site aspect, but he's actually going to have an influence here because of the sign aspect. Can you see? Ketu, karmic factors, past life, loss, danger, house of enemies. It's going to have a factor on her deathbed because that is 12th house. Of course, Ketu is affecting all the other mutable dual signs. Ketu aspects the house of father, loss, Ketu of father connection. Rahu aspects house of father, mystery, confusion, illusion. Who is the father? Rahu does that. Rahu and Ketu are aspecting siblings. She didn't have strong connection to her siblings. So we can see this influencing very strongly indeed. Check out the secrets of the aspects as well up on your screen right now, and all the other lessons should you have missed them. Next lesson is on Sambandha and we're starting the yogas. If you're new to my channel, of course, don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now and God bless you all.